from that defense. Geno Atkins and Carlos Dunlap this past week got stonewalled by two rookies, Kyle Long and Jordan Mills of the Bears. The two of the best defensive linemen in football, and probably the best three technique in football, and Geno Atkins got no pressure and no sacks on a team that had one of the worst offensive lines for the past 5 years or more. You don't think they're going to be pumped up against a divisional rival like the Steelers? No. You start that Cincinnati defense. You can thank me later. And that is the Fantasy Football Weekly. A few more stories we got coming up here, and the big story this week has been the 5-part report from SportsIllustrated.com about Oklahoma State University. The first part chronicled the under-the-table payments that a lot of players received from 2001 to 2007, roughly, or maybe even a little afterwards. Basically the time when Les Miles was the coach. To give you the Cliff Notes, they're saying there was 3 ways that the players were paid. They were paid as part of no-show or sham jobs. Basically, a booster would provide them for a job, but they wouldn't have to show up, or they would just show up and fish all day or play cards, and they would get paid for it. They were paid extra on their per diem stipends, which means, despite what people think, college athletes actually do get a stipend. However, in this case, they would get the envelopes with their stipend with maybe a couple $100 extra in it. Or they would have a de facto bonus system, basically a pay for play. They would get bonuses for getting a sack, having a big receiving day, touchdowns, interceptions, all that. So those are the 3 main things they were paid for. And according to the report, at least 8 players were paid. And these were people who actually talked to the interviewer. The article itself featured over 64 interviewed former players and staff members, and a lot of them are mentioned in this article. The article's getting some heat and some adulation, but I'll tell you this, it is not from lack of authenticity. They have 64 witnesses, and most of them are named in these articles. First and last, dates, and their exact circumstances in which they observed what happened. So we've got some eyewitness accounts that are coming out and being named. The other aspects of this storyline are going to be, in the next 3 coming out, are going to be about drugs, sex, and then the fallout for the college as a whole. Today they came out with the second part of it, and that was the academic cheating. And it said what a lot of you would expect it to say, that people are taking tests and doing homework for them, that they're being shepherded into easy classes. But there's a little bit of change in that too. It was saying how a lot of these athletes were basically forced into majors that they perhaps didn't want to do because they were easier classes, to make sure there was no chance of them failing out. They also had, a lot of them had tutors forced on them who would do the work for them to make sure they got the grade that was wanted. So a little bit of intrigue there, not just, and of course there are the kind of guys there who just went there to play football, but there's also a number of guys who did want to try and work that scholarship a little, try and get an education, that were forced into other majors. And of course the athletic director or the people who handled the players' education and their counselors, academic counselors, were saying that people have to be realistic, and that like a kid who with probably lower grades couldn't make it in the business program at OSU, so they tried to put them in another area. I don't know what the truth is, probably lies in the middle. But here's the thing about the story that's driving me nuts. Everybody that I have heard, from people who have been talking on the radio to articles that have been written, and if you've got an opinion, call me. I want to hear it. 630-534-0779. But everything I have heard and read is, oh, who's surprised? Like, this is news? Where's everybody else been? This has been going around in football for years. Why is everybody so accepting that this is the way college football is? We have a 5-part, very intriguing profile on a major college football powerhouse in Oklahoma State University, and it is detailing with eyewitness accounts and evidence of major violations. And yes, we all know that players get slipped a few bucks under the table. We all know that a lot of them get their grades amped up or given to them on a silver platter. But why is everybody just saying, oh, this is how it is. This is college football. We can't fix it. Can't do anything about it. Why are we so accepting of it? I personally am not accepting of it. I don't like the fact that this is going on, and I don't like the fact that people just say, oh, that's how it is. You know what? No. If that's how it is, start paying these guys for being the professional athletes that they are and get rid of this whole student-athlete concept that is a whole fallacy anyway. I've had many a rant on the NCAA on this program, and I'm not going to go on one now because that's not the topic of the day. But the main point of this is, you need to make, if you are a college football fan, you need to make a choice. Are you upholding the tradition of amateurism and the student-athlete dynamic that has made college football so popular today? Or are you going to recognize this as what it is, a bunch of minor league but professional players who have to go through a bunch of loopholes to get what they may or may not deserve? If you believe that this is an institution, then you should care about these allegations in Sports Illustrated, and you should care about what's been going on. If you believe in the latter, then you need to stop supporting the NCAA and get rid of this concept of amateurism and student athlete and turn this into a minor league. Those are your two choices. Apathy is not the answer, because just saying this is the way we've always done it is a horrendous and inappropriate answer to any kind of controversy. And shame on the people who just dismiss this as business as usual. And now, for my Week 2 predictions. Got a bunch of good games coming up this week, and these games were a lot harder for me to predict than Week 1, but we're going to go through them. We've got the Jets visiting the Patriots. I already talked about that one. Patriots are going to kill them. Tom Brady is not going to let them off as easy as Josh Freeman did. So Patriots win. I don't know what the line is, but I'm probably thinking the Patriots are going to cover it in New England. Tom Brady, unless it's like a 15-point spread, I'm still going Patriots. Oh, and before I proceed any further, I am not a gambler. So if any of you are using my picks for your gambling lines, do it with a grain of salt. I am picking these games straight up. I am not covering lines, and I am not responsible for anybody's gambling. If you want to ask me about the lines, tweet me at the CSBS, email me at cmstanton2@gmail.com, or even call this program at 630-534-0779. But as the picks that I'm giving them, they're merely informative. They're merely my picks. I call them as I see them. I'm not a gambler, so take that as you will. Moving on, we've got the Rams at the Falcons. Rams are improved. Falcons are better. They're going to be at home. And yes, like I predicted, the Saints had their upset of them, but the Saints had their first game with Sean Payton back. The Saints were at home. Saints are an improved team. The Falcons are a better team. They just struggled out of the gate. They're going to be at home Week 2. They're going to beat the Rams Week 2. Chargers versus Eagles. You can't trust Phillip Rivers, and the Eagles are just going to run them right out of the building. Eagles win. Huge shootout. The Eagles win. I'd pick the over in that game. Let's say the under-over is 60 points. I'm still going over. It's huge. But the way the Eagles are playing and the way the Chargers can still put up points with Phillip Rivers, go with the Eagles. Cowboys, Chiefs, already said earlier, going with the Chiefs. I think they're a better team. I think Alex Smith is an underrated quarterback, and I don't trust DeMarco Murray to give that offense on Dallas and balanced attack. Dolphins, Colts. Colts are a good team. I love Andrew Luck, and it's at Indy, but I got to go with the Dolphins. I think they got talent there. I think they're onto something, and I think with the injuries to New England, I think the Dolphins smell blood in the water and can see this year as a real chance to make the playoffs. So I'm going with the Dolphins on the upset of the Indianapolis Colts. Texans over Titans. I picked the upset of the Titans over the Steelers last week. Again, 2-2. But the Steelers are a diminished, hurt team. The Texans are running on all cylinders and are one of the few AFC Super Bowl hopefuls. And with J.J. Watt as the best defensive player in the league, I don't see the run game for the Titans doing very well. Redskins at Green Bay. I love the Redskins. I still pick them to win the division, but they're going 0-2. Against the Packers in Green Bay, coming off that loss to the 49ers, I got Aaron Rodgers all day long. Browns at Ravens. This was a tough one. I don't trust Joe Flacco. I liked him when he was drafted. I like the ability he brings. I don't trust him. I don't think he's an elite quarterback. I don't think he deserves the $120 million contract. And that Browns defense is a very good defense. I don't think the Ravens will be able to do nearly as much as they did against the Broncos, who are missing key players. I think the Browns are going to be holding the Ravens to a very low score. I think the Browns will be able to run well enough to get a few scores. I'm picking the Browns. Panthers at Bills. I like the Bills in Buffalo. They showed me some stuff against New England. I like where they're heading. Vikings in Chicago. Vikings don't stand a chance. I don't care if Adrian Peterson runs for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Bears' offense looked good. The offensive line didn't allow a sack of Cutler and 33 dropbacks. The Vikings' defense is overrated. They've got some good pieces on that defensive line. Bears defense is still going strong. The offense looks better. Offensive line looks better, and they're in Chicago. I got them going 2-0 in the division, and to start the season, and going 1-0 in the division against the Vikings. Saints at Buccaneers. I already showed my disdain for the Buccaneers earlier. I don't care if they're at home. I'm going Saints. Lions versus Cardinals. Tough game. Could be a lot like that Rams-Cardinals game. I expect it to be close. I expect it to be a shootout. And I expect the Lions, despite a number of penalties and stupid moves, to still pull out a victory in this one. Jaguars at Raiders. Terrell Pryor impressed me. I like the Raiders at home over the Jaguars. Broncos versus Giants. Peyton schools his younger brother Eli. Both quarterbacks are going to pass for more than 350, and both will have at least 2 touchdowns. Broncos, too many offensive weapons, too balanced of an attack, and I like their defense just a tad bit better than the Giants. I'm looking for a big game out of both teams, but Broncos. 49ers at Seahawks, so tough. Seahawks at home are going to be tough, but they only put up 12 against the Carolina Panthers. And Colin Kaepernick is playing like the best player in the league. I'm going 49ers. And for your final game on Monday night, Steelers at Bengals, I already said that one too. Bengals are going to school the Steelers. I don't think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be pretty. And I think the Bengals are going to be huge. And to wrap things up, we're going to go to that segment to leave you all with a smile on your face. And that is For the Love of the Game. Just running through the last few things on our list here. We've got the Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl salute to begin the season. I loved it. For you regular listeners, how many times have I been on this program talking about entertainment in sports? The Ravens had a laser show, fireworks, a Keith Urban concert. It was entertaining. It was fun. It was just very, very cool to watch. They had 45,000 plus people in Baltimore in their stadium, even though the game was being played in Denver, just to watch the Super Bowl show. That is what sports is all about. It's a celebration of everything that we want to see. Good for the Ravens. Sticking with that game, the game got delayed, and NBC did a great job of handling it, including the replay of a Bob Costas interview with Peyton Manning. And Bob Costas is one of the best in the business. He can get a little preachy, a little arrogant sounding sometimes, but this is a guy who knows what he's doing. And his interview of Peyton Manning, it was funny, it was informative, it's everything as a fan that you want. You learned a little bit about the team, you got some insight into his preparation for the game, and you got a few laughs, including their analysis of the football on your phone commercial that Peyton did with Eli. Go check out the Bob Costas interview online to check that one out. Another thing that I absolutely loved, the commercials. I was watching football all day Sunday and laughing my head off every time they went to commercials. Especially the whole line of Bud Light commercials that it's only weird if it doesn't work. You know what I'm talking about. The Eagles fan who's looking at the quinoa frozen veggie burger says it tastes like a rotten tree branch, but he's going to eat it because last time he ate it, the Eagles won. What is that? Is that plastic? No, it's a quinoa. Yes. Great commercials. I was laughing hysterically the entire time. Plus, the State Farm commercial, Aaron Rodgers comes in. They brought back the super fans from the Saturday Night Live with George Wendt and the other Saturday Night Live alums. Discount double check. I was laughing hysterically. Another great thing, and probably the best news